Welcome back to That Dad Guy. It is May the 13th, 2023, and we are at the Fundy Stamp Collector Show here at the Legion in Moncton. I thought I'd walk you around, show you what's happening there, and maybe I'll even fill in a few stamps that I'm missing from my father's collection.
$30. Are there any other bids? Any other bids? Sold for $30 to three. You got a box here, USA, off paper, sorted. Got multiple bids on this as well. 328 is the last bid. I think that's $15 it's showing there. Is there any other bids? 17. Any other bids? 20. 20. Other bids? Sold for $20 to.
So what do you think? That's the Fundy Stamp Show. It happens, I guess, twice a year, in May and in October. They also have an auction time. There's going to be an auction coming up in June, I guess. So I might check that out too, see what that's all about. Yes, the first time I've been back to this stamp show in quite some time. I used to go with my father a few times. It was at this location. Before that, it was at the Rod House Hotel. So yeah, it's been a long time. But one of the funny things, they do an auction in this show as well, a little one in the middle, which you got a chance to see a little of. And when you register, you get a number. So when they checked the list, my father's name was still on that registry list. So we've done a little changing. We've taken his first name away, put my first name in, and added my phone number in instead. So I get to keep the number my father used to use for auctions. So I'm kind of pleased about that we keep it in the family. So I want to thank those people at the Fundy Stamp Show for making me a part of the family. I guess when I'm there, everyone was very kind and willing to talk, and I was the youngest one there, I think, this time around. So the demographic is of a certain age, but I think that's natural when you think of stamp collecting. It's gone through a wave. I think here, at least in North America, an older generation are philatelists, not so much the younger generation, but we do see a movement in Asia and in parts of Europe now where you're starting to see younger philatelists come about, which I'm happy to hear about. So hopefully the hobby will continue, and people like me that work at the post office, there'll still be stamps and people will still be mailing them or collecting them, so there'll be jobs for us to do. Now, I showed you the auction that was there. I did take part in it, and I got myself some Scott catalogs. I got a whole set from 2009 for a really good price. I paid $30 Canadian for all 6 books. There are actually 5 books, and there was one, the 6th book actually came from 2006 rather than 2009. I just noticed that when I picked them up, but I'm all right with that. I don't need them to be 2022, 2023s. The stamps that my dad had in his collection are all prior to this time for the most part anyways, and when people are sending stamps in or I'm collecting stamps, they're usually older. The newer stuff, I can always go to the library and grab a new book and need to fill it in. So I'm happy with that. These books cost a fortune normally, so to get them at such a good price was a great opportunity, and I gotta thank KYLER for that. He was the one who came over to me and said, did you see what was on the auction table? And he encouraged me to put a bid in for them, which I did. The first bid I put in was a bit lower than that, and I got outbid, so I put another one in and I got it. So happy about that. But KYLER, you also got me to spend money that I wasn't planning on doing. I can't twist my arms without me wanting to do it too. But I did buy a few other things. I'm not going to show you all of them today. I think I'm going to do another video to talk about that. But you could buy stamps there that were mint or used. You could buy souvenir sheets. They had those. They had first day covers. They even had vintage postcards that were unused and ones that were used that you could get. What else did they have? They had albums. You could buy a whole sections of people's collections. You could buy mounts. I did buy some of those because I don't see too many of them in my father's stash for some of these stamps that I got. I did get a couple of stamps that he was missing, which I may show you in a bit. The one stamps I will show you today, I did get a few Ukrainian stamps. Remember, if you've been watching my channel for a while, I've been trying to put together a bunch of Ukrainian stamps because my dad didn't have any in his collection. And last year's birthday, I put an album together. I showed him the stamps that were sent in and the stamps that I could collect that we had for his collection. But I picked up a few more. So this one here, this is, doesn't have the date on it, 2010, there you go. So I really like that. I liked how it came with the edging too, from the sheet that it came off of. This one here, which is actually a circular stamp, but it's got the whole sheet around it too. This one, I'm trying to show you, we're around the... Now, these ones are like 50 cents, $1, and most of them, because I buy a bunch of them at one time, they even give them cheaper than that, so not very expensive. The albums that KYLER had me looking at too, they were just albums, 10 cents for any stamp in the album you wanted. So some of them were very old and some of them were new. So you could get them like this. These are the Ukrainian ones I found. There wasn't a lot of Ukrainian stamps to be found, so it wasn't a big success for that. And I was focusing mostly on Canadian while I was there. I did find a few other things. I'm going to show you one of them, and then we'll leave the rest to your imaginations in the future. I'm going to do a video probably next week about it, but I think that some of these might be great for giveaways. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. We might do a little of that. There may, hopefully, will be some milestones coming up on the channel. And if I do have those milestones, then I want to celebrate them. So how about this one here? This is from the Royal Mail. These lighthouse stamps. I paid $2 for it, maybe a little less because I bought a bundle of stuff. And so they gave me a bundle price for it. But yeah, this booklet tells you all about. I can just slide it out just so you can have a see what I'm talking about here. So here you have the stamps, and then here you have the booklet that it comes in that tells you a bit more about each one of those lighthouses and maybe where they're found on the English coast. Still has the order form in there if you were to order stamps. So all of those beautiful old 5 stamps for just under $2 Canadian. That's a pretty good bargain. For those of you who are watching from England, that's less than £1 for those stamps. And those aren't the only ones I bought, but those are the only ones that I'm going to show you right now because I'm going to leave some of them for you to see at a later date. I will show you here. Show you a couple Canadian ones that I bought to fill in my father's collection. We have this one here, special delivery stamp. It was a 20-cent one. So the value on it, the selling price was $6.25. I did pay a little less than that. Or how about, which one do I want to show you next? Here, here's a nice cheap one. This one here, Queen Victoria. This is number 69 out of the Canadian series. Pretty great condition. We've got fair up there. It's very fine. $1, not a big deal. Here, a couple more. Postage due. and special delivery. And that isn't the same special delivery as this one. This one says 20 cents on the bottom written out. This one just says cents written out. So a slight variation in what they are. But those are the sort of stamps that I got for my father's collection that he was missing. So I can use the mounts here and these stamps, put them together and put them in his Unity stamp albums, and they will look a little bit more complete. Now I did find that some of the stamps that he was missing, I created a whole list of them. And the reason why they were missing is because they cost a fortune, even as used. One of the stamps I looked at, it was $1,200, I believe. And the person there said, well, the prices are slightly negotiable. They weren't negotiable to the point where I could afford to buy it. So those ones will have to stay as stamps that are in the imagination of one day and enjoy in other people's collections, because they probably won't ever make it into this one unless I win the lottery. But yeah, so there were things to be had. I didn't buy any vintage postcards. I did encourage KYLER to buy a few, and they were a pretty good price. You get 3 for $1.25, I think. And some of those ones could be ones that were blank, or that could have a written message and a postage stamp on the back. You could get them either way. I guess had I bought them, I probably would have bought the blank ones so I could send them off into the world. A lot of them were local scenes, like the Halifax Public Gardens or Glace Bay, Nova Scotia, with some Prince Edward Islands and New Brunswick things. So yeah, they were pretty cool, but I wasn't there to spend a whole lot of money. I spent more than I was planning on doing. I was planning on just going and making a video and having a visit with KYLER, and I did spend a little bit more than that. But it's a part of the show, and I had a good time. I'm gonna go back again. I'm gonna take some more video, take some more content at future ones, see what we can do. The auctions were great. Now I didn't participate a lot in it because I wasn't there to spend a lot of money, but they did have a lot of different things you could get for a really good price. A lot of things were going for about $5. You could buy old stamp albums. You could buy a series of mystery stamps that were on paper or off paper that were in there. Some Ile de la Madeleine stamps were in there, and most of them were selling for about $5 or $6. So if you wanted to fill in your collection or start a collection on a country, they were great ways to do it. So if you have a stamp club in your area, you should look and see whether or not they do have a stamp show coming up that you can participate in. Even if you're not there to buy anything, it might be worthwhile going and just checking out how things are done. I learned a lot about catalogs and how people do their collections and what they're looking for. People that are maybe collecting the world, but you can't collect everything, so how do you go about doing that? So it was interesting to look into that. Yeah, I encourage you to try if you do. And like I said, I'll bring you along to another one if I go to another one of these shows, and we'll get to see. And in the meantime, I will use my catalogs and try to start putting this collection back in order with some of the things that I have here. I still have some stamps that I have to use this stuff on to get the residue off. I have some that I did an initial coating on, and the back of them are still a bit sticky, so I'm going to spray them again and scrape down the last of that residue so they aren't sticky anymore. All right, thanks a lot for coming along. It was a great day. Have a magical week. What, Polo? You say like, subscribe, share, and tell all your friends.
Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?
Bye.